Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your guy Realistic, and I'm doing another tutorial for soundoracle.net. And in this video, I'm going to be going over my favorite top 10 free plugins that you can get in the year 2021. But first, before we get into that, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date with our latest videos and tutorials, and you'll also get tips and tricks directly in your mobile feed. Also, Oracle and I have two online mixing courses right now called the Art of Beat Mixing and the Art of Vocal Mixing. Both of them are filled with tons and tons of videos and hours worth of content of professional mixing techniques. So I'll put the description to both of those in the description below. So let's dive into some of these plugins. All of these are free plugins, and I'll also have the links to each one of these in the description below, so that way you can go ahead and download these plugins. None of these are sponsored. These are just some of my favorite free plugins out there. The first one that I'm gonna start out with is one by iZotope, and this one is called Imager. Now, there's a full version that you get when you get iZotope's Ozone mastering suite, and there's like a multi-band function on there, but this one works just fine. So let's dive in and see what this one does. So I got this vocal here.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder.
And let's go ahead and widen this up here. And basically what we can do is we can just add a little bit more width to it. And so what this plugin has, and it doesn't have the multi-band function like you would see on the full version, but what I like about this here is we got our little vector scope here. So when we're on polar sample, we can see if anything's in phase or not. So if it's within this 45-degree angle here, it's within phase. And if it's outside of it, it's going to be out of phase. If you see little speckles outside of it as you're using this, don't worry too much. You know, when we're trying to get things wider, it's okay if things are going to be slightly out of phase, because that's how we do make stuff perceived to be wider, as we slightly shift the phase between two channels. So, you know, phase cancellation is important to prevent, but when you see just a little bit of phase, that is also how you're going to get widening, as long as we're not way over here and we're dealing with some phase cancellations. Another thing that what I like about this too is you see over here we got a +1, a 0, and a -1. The closer to +1 we are, it means that we're more mono compatible, and the closer that we are below 0 or -1, it means that it's less likely to be mono compatible. So that's really cool too, that we have that function in there. And then we can just have this little knob right here to where, or this little slider right here, where we can get a wider sound here, and then we have something here too stereo wise, and this can also help too with the correlation between the phasing issues and keeping it in phase. So let's go ahead and dial in some settings.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Ride or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life. All of is a body of water and we're an island. Like I just took you out to Thailand.
Yeah, it just gives you a nice wide sound. You can use this on a lot of different things too, not just vocals. Pads and stuff like that will also work. Keeping on these vocals and sticking with iZotope here, we got another one here called Vocal Doubler. And this one, again, this is a free one. And it's really cool here. We got a separation tool and a variation tool that we can get a little more separation from the lead vocal, and a little bit more variation that kind of just shifts the phase a little bit more. So let's just kind of check this out. There's just really one knob. As we go up, it's going to do the separation, and as we turn this here, it's going to do the variation here.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Right.
And then I just like to dial that back a little bit too.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Right or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life.
All right, we'll stick on this vocal for a moment here. This is a company that I'm sure that a lot of you know, Valhalla. They make this really cool reverb plugin here called Supermassive, and this one is free as well. And this thing is wild. This is for like really creative effects that you can do with your reverb and stuff like that. It also has some delay on there, some warp functioning here. We see we got some filters. So let's check out what this sounds like.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Right or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life. And all of is a body of water and we're an island.
And we also got some cool little modes down here if we want to get a little bit crazier. This Gemini is more of your traditional here. But if we go down here, we got some stuff here that's got some huge reverbs, and almost it's got some sweeping effects. Some of these have like some reverse effects.
like me. You be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Ride or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life. And all of is a body of water and we're an island.
Yeah, really cool effects that you can do that with your reverb. I really like using this reverb, especially on like ad-libs. I think it sounds really cool on some ad-libs, especially with some of these modes down here where we get a little bit crazier. All right, let's head over to this 808 here. We got some cool free plugins that work really good for stuff like this too. The first one here is by Plugin Alliance here. This is Subfilter here. There's a fuller version called Subsynth that gives you a lot more control, but either way, this is really cool. Basically, what we can do is we can add a little bit of some more bottom low end to it, almost kind of like what R-Bass does here.
Like me.
So here's without it. See how we were able to thicken that up and add a little bit more weight to it. Now another one here too that I really like on 808s here is this one right here by bedroomproducersblog.com called Saturator here. And it's really cool that we got a free saturation plugin here. We got some tube type distortion and we got some tape like here. We got some high pass and low pass filters here and then in and out as well. So let's dial in some settings here.
Like me. You be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Ride or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life. All of is a body of water and we're an island. Like I just took you out to Thailand. All of is a body of water and we're an island.
Really easy to use and also looks really great at that. All right, let's head over to this. All right, let's head over to this pad over here. I'm sure a lot of people know about this plugin right here. This is OTT, as it's also known as, and this is a nice little plugin right here that Xfer had made based on a setting inside of Ableton off their multi-band compression. And what we can do is we can do some cool things like some upward and downward compression, and we can do some multi-band action too. You can see right here we got some ability to adjust the thresholds here on each band here. We can change the amount of upward or downward compression. We can add the depth to it, some timing here too, and then we can also control the levels of our high, mid, and our low. So let's dial in some stuff in here real quick. So here's without it. Really lets you bring stuff alive there. And here's another plugin too. Let's go back to iZotope for a moment. This one is called Vinyl. A lot of you might even know about this one, but they updated it recently. There used to be another version where the GUI on it wasn't quite as attractive. This one is much more attractive now. It's really cool though. You see we got we got different styles here that we can do for different decades and stuff here. We got ability to change the RPM here to different speeds that we want. We got a lo-fi option here, and we can add more dust and scratch effects to it, add more mechanical noise, add more electric noise to it. We even got a lo-fi button and a spin down button. So let's check out some of these. And there's this little spin down button too. So a lot of cool little options right there for this free vinyl plugin here. Now, Baby Audio makes a cool little plugin. It's really easy to use. There's only really one button on here with a mix knob that you can add. It's called Magic Switch. And this switch right here is found on a lot of their other plugins that you can buy on their store, like their VHS plugin and their delay plugin and stuff like that. Basically what it does is just adds a little chorus effect to it. So we'll turn it off and then we'll add it in. we also got a little mix knob down here too that we can blend it in if we want. Really handy, and it looks pretty cool too. They always do a good job of designing what their plugins look like. So I'm over here by my drums over here, and this is a plugin that maybe you didn't know about. This is called Flux here, and it's a transient designer. And who would have thought that a transient designer is actually a free plugin? That's really cool. A lot of us may not even have access to a transient designer. A lot of DAWs don't come with a stock version of a transient designer. So what we can do is we can just increase or we can decrease the transients of a track. So let's check it out. If we were to increase it, we can add a little bit more punch and more attack to these drums. Just adds a little bit more snap to it, and we can also reduce the transients if we wanted to on certain instruments. Just kind of soften it up a little bit. Now you may be wondering, why would I ever want to reduce the transients? Well, a situation where you might is if you have like a kick and an 808 going, and maybe the 808's got a little bit of too much of an attack on there. You could maybe throw this on the 808 and lower down that attack on there. That way the attack on the kick drum can really dominate, and then we can just enjoy that low end sweetness of the 808 without it interfering too much with the kick drum. All right, so this last plugin that I want to show you right here is called YouLean Loudness Meter. So I have a lot of people asking, what do I use to measure the loudness of my track when I'm mastering it? Do I use dB? Do I use RMS? Do I use LUFS? Usually LUFS is what you want to use. And then when I tell people that, they're like, well, where can I find one? There's a lot of plugins on the market. FabFilter's Pro L2 comes with one. iZotope's Insight comes with the LUFS meter in there, but you got to pay for those. So it's really cool that there's actually a LUFS meter out there. So I'll go ahead and throw on a limiter here, and what we can do here is we can actually just hit play. This doesn't add any coloring or doesn't take or add anything away from it. It just measures the overall loudness.
Like me, you be rocking fashion over mini dress with Nike. A storm is in my head and you're the thunder and the lightning. Ride or I die, yeah, I mean that with my life. And all of it's a body of water and we're an island.
Then we can figure this out to see how close we are to actually getting to where we want to be as our overall loudness. It's really cool because it shows you the short-term LUFS, the integrated LUFS here of the overall sound here that we're aiming at, and it also shows you the true peak max, which is really cool right here that we have that. And then it's also cool that we can set our some thresholds here to what level we want it to turn red at. Let us know that we're either too loud or too quiet. So over here I got it set to where my my maximum loudness is -8. So if it gets any louder than that, then I know to turn it down. And I got my minimum here at -9.5. So if it gets any quieter than that, then I know that maybe I got to push it up a little bit more. And then also too, we have it too where we can set our true peak max here to let us know if we've gone too far past our peak output, and then we can set it to whatever that is. That way it will indicate that it's at red right there. There's other cool things too where you can drag and drop other files in here, like a mainstream song. You could actually drop that in there and then we'll analyze it. There is a upgraded version of it if you want. It's like $37, and it kind of gives you some other options to kind of analyze based on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Music or HBO or Disney Plus's algorithms. But the free version will have everything that you need to be able to get your stuff to be where you want it to be and be able to measure the actual loudness of the track. So these right here were a couple of my favorite free plugins that you can find nowadays. I think these are really handy. Like I said, I'll have the link in the description below for each one of these. I know there's some free ones out there that I didn't touch on, like the the Tokyo Labs one and like the span analyzer. I figured a lot of people know about those, and a lot of those have already been reviewed and talked about. So that's why I didn't touch on those. I know they're really cool ones, but that's why I didn't touch on those. But anyways, like I said before, if you're not already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can stay up to date with our latest tutorials and videos just like this, and you'll get those tips and tricks directly in your mobile feed. And also, Oracle and I do have those 2 online mixing courses, the Art of Vocal Mixing and the Art of Beat Mixing. Both of those have the link in the description below. Till next time. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel right here so you can catch the latest tutorials on mixing, mastering, and production. And you can check out some of our suggested videos here, here, and here. And of course, if you're looking for premium loops and samples, you can find that at soundoracle.net. We got plenty to choose from.